these are the ABCs. This is the beginning list. This is what you pick up when you first come into this community. And if there are books on this list that you haven't read, go to panafricanalliance.com, click books in the menu, and grab a copy or two. Okay, let's get into it. The very first book is obviously The Destruction of Black Civilization by Dr. Chancellor Williams. You're talking about a master teacher here. Peace be upon him. And The Destruction of Black Civilization, you ask anybody in our community, the number one book that you should read if you are new or have been in this community for a while, this is it. Two, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa by Walter Rodney. Have you ever wondered why Africa is in the position that it's in? We know that, of course, the continent is the wealthiest in mineral wealth and probably in human capital on the planet. However, the people are suffering as some of the poorest on the planet. Well, that was engineered. When members of this organization and I read this book, we were able to identify 15 ways Europe underdeveloped Africa during the colonial era. Number 3. Black Africa, the economic and cultural basis for a federated state. And this is by Dr. Chiekh Anta Diop. This is a Senegalese warrior scholar, peace be upon him, and it is from this book that we get our definition of Pan-Africanism. So Pan-Africanism is a political concept. It's a belief in the laws and representation that benefit Africans in the diaspora. Number 4, Introduction to MAAT Philosophy by Muata Ashby. So in this book, Dr. Ashby reclaims our stolen legacy from the yogic traditions. Right now, everyone's big on Ayurvedic traditions, practicing yoga, and really getting deep into the Indian spiritual systems. Well, he brings it back to its Kemetic source, and he gives students an overstanding of the practical applications of Kemetic science. It ain't all just mental masturbation. There are practical applications to MAAT philosophy. Number 5, Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery by Dr. Naim Akbar. Look, I don't care. Book really blew my mind. So again, the 5th book on our list is Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery by Dr. Naim Akbar. Book number 6, Consciencism by Kwame Nkruma. Now, you all probably know that Kwame Nkruma was the very first democratically elected president of Ghana, but his contributions to Pan-Africanism in putting it into action on the ground in very real ways is immeasurable. It's thanks to Kwame Nkruma that we have today's African Union, which of course is responsible for the creation of the All-African People's Revolutionary Party. It was the armed wing of his political ideology, and Conscientism really sums up how Kwame Nkrumah intended on this system working. Next book on our list, The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Color Blindness. This scroll was written by Michelle Alexander, and she is truly a warrior scholar. She wrote it under the Obama administration here in the United States. Obama, of course, you all know, first so-called black elected president in the United States. And her emphasis was that not too much had changed, and in fact, things had gotten worse under Obama's Age of Colorblindness. And the reason for that was Matt's book, unlike any other, except for maybe Angela Davis's old book, Are Prisons Obsolete? This will help you understand the weapon of white supremacy known as prosecution better than any other book that I think I have read. So The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander needs to be on your bookshelf. Number 8 is Powernomics by Dr. Claud Anderson. So in this book, we come to understand that from the days following the end of the Civil War all the way up into the Civil Rights, in this book, he lists out 12 economic action steps that change the way that we behave. It's changed the way that our organization, the Pan-African Alliance, has coordinated our efforts. It's changed the way that I managed my businesses and my finances. And we've seen the results, the fruits of our labor from following Dr. Claud Anderson's economic action steps, like dollars circulating in black neighborhoods. And Powernomics is a critical book, particularly if you're interested in the area of life that we call economics, particularly in our efforts to counter the weapon of white supremacy called fraud. Number 9 is The Miseducation of the Negro. This is coming from Dr. Carter G. Woodson, one of the first, if not the first, black men to graduate from Harvard. He is also the reason why we have Black History Month here in the United States. It started off as Black History Week, and that's all thanks to Dr. Carter G. Woodson. But in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro, there are 2 lessons that I really want to emphasize here. And lesson number 1, and this is a direct quote coming from the book: if you can control a man's thinking, you don't have to worry about his action. It in the beginning. So no matter where you are in the world, understand that group solidarity, voting in political blocks, and moving as a unit is the only way to ensure that we are taking care of ourselves. It doesn't matter who's in political power. It doesn't even matter who's in economic power, because as a group, we can achieve the same as long as we are clear about the rights and privileges that we are seeking to obtain. Books number 10 and 11 are The Autobiography of Malcolm X and Negro with a Hat. Look, it blows my mind how many queens and kings say that they're Garveyites, that they achieved, and so these books are The Autobiography of Malcolm X, peace be upon him, but you've never read their stories. You have no idea what led to the establishment of their philosophies, how they achieved the results that they achieved, and so these books deserve a place on your bookshelf, particularly if you call yourself a Garveyite or a Pan-African or a member of the Black and Conscious community. Marcus Garvey is one of the intellectual founders of United Black America and the Pan-African Alliance, and he's had such a profound influence on world history that you are probably completely unaware of thanks to the public fool system, that not reading this book will put you in the back of the class. And then the final book is The ISIS Papers, written by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, peace be upon her. Look, this is a strategy guide for dealing with the system of white supremacy. It is from Dr. Frances Cress Welsing that we as an organization got our concept of the 9 areas of life. The 9 areas of life, which we call the 9 battlefields, are how many queens and kings say that they're Garveyites. They say they're followers of El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, Malcolm X, peace be upon him. But you've